In this lesson, we'll add some eye geometry to the character and begin sculpting that area around the eyes. So as we start to sculpt the eyelids, we really want to have that eyeball geometry in there because it serves as a guide, kind of how that flesh is supposed to be wrapped around those particular shapes. So having that in there will be a great help to us. So let's go ahead and just go to Create, Mesh, and let's bring in a sphere. And I'm going to go ahead and select the sphere, go to Select and Move, and I'm just going to scale this sphere down a little bit so it's a rough eye size. And let's kind of move it up into position here. And we'll make this the left eye to begin with, so go ahead and kind of drop this in. I just want to roughly get it in the right spot here. Kind of push it back maybe a little bit. We can rename this, call this eye left. Let's right click and go to Duplicate Object. We'll rename this one and we'll call this one eye right. And let's go ahead and mirror it over. So flip it around the X and let's lock those two eyes in place. So now we can concentrate just on the body here. And so we'll go get our sculpt tools and let's try to use, let's start with grab, and I'm just going to kind of pull the eyebrows out a little bit. And I want to make sure to take this brush size down, turn on symmetry, turn on mirroring, and kind of pull this out a little bit. And we'll have more of an expression on this guy's face as we go through this process, but here I want to just kind of work default. And so let's start to now sculpt around this. So we can come in with maybe wax, and we can start to add some detail right over the top of this, just to get it, kind of get it started here, and kind of smooth it back in. I'll do the same thing down here on the bottom. So I just want to get this kind of up and overlapping the eye. Just kind of get it started. We can also now use grab and grab this geometry and kind of pull it down a little bit. And we're starting to separate between what is the sort of eyebrow and the eyelids. Okay, start to kind of pull this up. And now I want to define this a little bit better. And so again, I'll just use wax and kind of come in kind of around here. And that might be a little bit too much, but I just want to build this up around the bottom and also around the top of the eye. So just kind of build that up a little bit. You can see how it's very chunky. So we just want to make sure that we're at the highest level, but we can subdivide it again if we need to. Okay, we're going to be changing the topology, or kind of redrawing the topology as we continue on. But at this point, I just want to get the sculpted detail in there, and to do that, I need to have something that's a little bit higher res. So I can come in and again add this detail, and I want to start to kind of define a little bit more of a sack underneath the eye, kind of a bag underneath the eye here, and then we can start to add a little bit more definition to the lid coming around here. We can also go back and get flatten or scrape, come in along the top or bottom of each lid and shape this a little bit more. You can see here that we've got really a very thick lid at this point, so we can come in and kind of create an even spacing here. That's what having this eyeball in here does for you. It lets you know how you need to modify the geometry to fit that particular eye. And so we can come in here and kind of flatten out that bottom area to create a little bit more of a line there. We can go back to sculpt with our last vector displacement and start to add a little bit of definition here in the form of some kind of wrinkles. I really want that bag to be sort of well defined, and so we can come in and start to add that, maybe add a little bit of wrinkles on that bag there. Define the corner a little bit more, maybe have it coming out a little, and then we'll kind of take away some of the definition where this turns into the brow, but we'll add kind of some real light wrinkly sort of lines coming in across here. Really give the indication of that lid. It's all sort of wrinkled up. Okay, and then once we have that, we can start to work it in with the rest of the face. So, where the nose is, and just kind of adding some of those wrinkles. I want to get a little bit more of like a cheekbone shape, even though we really don't have a lot of room. So, I can come in here and just add a real loose shape in here, and then come back with sculpt and just define that bottom edge a little bit more, and then have the flesh kind of work up into it. So this gives you a little bit more of that sort of bony structure, even though we don't have just a ton of room to work with. In adding that, you just want to add those little bits there, and then you can start to add a little bit more detail as you come around. Okay, but having the eye in there really makes it a lot easier to add the detail around the eyes. And so we can come in here now, and modify this shape a little bit more. Maybe we want to come in and make this head a little bit thinner towards the back, make his nose a little bit thinner. Okay, so now we've got the eyes added and placed. But let's go ahead in the next lesson and talk about retopologizing the character, which we kind of mentioned. So we'll talk about that in the next lesson.